Hey everyone, Kyle once again. Welcome back for part 2 of my video library, or collection I would say. So getting on to part 2, and so I ended right here. Well, you can't see down here, but now moving on to the we're still in the F's of the horror genre. And I moved on to the next big franchise, the Friday the 13th franchise. Yep. Friday the 13th, classic. Then we got the 2009 remake, which I never minded. I thought was pretty decent. Then we got to move on to part 2, part 3, part 4, the final chapter, which technically it's not. Part 5, part 6, one of the best ones in the franchise. Part 7, The New Blood. Number 8. And it's on this shelf, and now the rest of it's down on the next shelf below here. Just give me a second. There we go. Well, another favorite is Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, Jason X, and then we got to the documentary, you can probably say. So you have the 2-disc collector's edition of Crystal Lake Memories, the complete history of Friday the 13th. And that's of the franchise because I would put Freddy vs. Jason. You could say Freddy vs. Jason, but to me, it's more about Freddy, because he's the one who's been doing more of the pulling the strings type. So I'd say that film was more of a Freddy movie than a Jason film. So that's why I put that one in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, because that was more film about Freddy. So moving on next to me, like the last one from director Peter Jackson, that is of The Frighteners. So I'm not a fan of his Lord of the Rings trilogy or Hobbit films, and never cared for his 2005 version of King Kong. This is me. So yeah, The Frighteners. To me, that's like the last one he did. And then we have, I would say, my favorite vampire film, the original Fright Night. And then we got the sequel, Part 2. But I don't have the remake, so I'm not bothering with that. Then we have of Frogs. And then we have one from director Toby Hooper of The Funhouse. Then we got the one that a lot of people enjoyed, Get Out. Then ranted on this one, Ghost Ship. To me, the 1980 version of Death Ship is much better than this, to me. I know my friend Peter Freakout 10, he's a fan of this film, but I'm not. To each their own, though. Then we got The Ginger Dead Man. Then we got Stephen King's Graveyard Shift, which I really do enjoy. The Graveyard Shift. I enjoy the Graveyard Shift. Really good one. The Last Shark, or by the other title, Great White, which is a film that got sued from Universal because it was a copy of Jaws. They got sued and they lost. But I've never minded this film, The Last Shark, or Great White as it's called. But speaking of Jaws ripoffs, to me this is one of the better of the Jaws ripoffs, people say. But to me it's one of the better ones. Grizzly. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in this film, so yeah, I like Grizzly. To me, I think it's one of the better Jaws ripoffs. Because, you know, what this bear does in this film was quite insane. Like, tears off a woman's arm off, takes a horse's head off, even the language, but fucks up a little kid. That's pretty messed up. So yeah, the bear is like really does some crazy shit in this film. And then we have what's the name of Hallettsville, Gary Busey. And then now next. Now we got to the Halloween franchise now. And a review mostly except for the new one. I was going to review the last one, but certain things happened. But anyway, one of my all-time favorites, such an all-time classic of John Carpenter's Halloween. One of the best of all time. Such a classic. But then, from classic, get into a very shitty remake. One of the worst ones. Rob Zombie's Halloween. But then you get into the good sequel. Halloween 2, which I have this here. And then I have the Scream Factory Collector's Edition of Halloween 2. And then, even worse, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which is even worse. And to me, I'm one of the very few people that likes this one, but Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Now, the reason why I said long ago I put a little rant on there, because the reason why, because this should not have been part of this franchise. It should have been its own thing, just called Season of the Witch, not just Halloween. If it was not called Halloween, just called Season of the Witch, then probably wouldn't have got as much hate for it. But that's the reason why I put a rant on that. But besides that, because I like Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Especially I like Tom Atkins. So yeah, it did things differently, yeah. So I'm one of the few people. But then getting to move on to the good sequel, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. And then it gets ruined by this, Halloween 5, Revenge of Michael Myers, which just ruins the ending of the fourth one, which I would like to have seen. Then move on to another shitty sequel of The Curse of Michael Myers. Yeah, scariest Halloween of them all. My ass it is. The first one was always going to be scary. Then you got Halloween H2O. Then Halloween Resurrection. And then we got the new one, Halloween, which, why just give the same friggin' title? I call it, it's like, here's a good title, Halloween. H4O, you know, there've been something different. Instead of just calling Halloween the same name. So. And also I had over here, next one, and then, Hammerhead. Which is, had, I believe, Forsyth's in this. But Hammerhead. Then we got Happy Death Day. And then the sequel, Happy Death Day 2, which surprisingly I liked. Although you wouldn't have to explain how she keeps repeating the same day over and over again. You didn't need to explain that though, but at the same time I liked the sequel. Then we got Hatchet. Then there's The Hatching. Then The Haunting. Then there's Hellfest. Then we move on to the another trilogy. Not trilogy, franchise. The classic one, first Hellraiser. Then the good sequel, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. Then the third film, Hell on Earth. And then the fourth one, Bloodline, which is one is in space. And that's all I have for the Hellraiser films for now. I have to get the other sequels. This is like a lot of them. Then we have the good one of Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, starring in his debut, Michael Rooker, which is an actor I really do enjoy. I enjoyed Michael Rooker, and this was his debut right here. You got Hide and Seek. Then one of my favorite horror remakes, The Hills Have Eyes. Then the classic, my favorite film from Rutger Hauer, rest in peace. The Hitcher, love this film. But then, another one of the worst remakes. The freaking 2007 Hitcher remake. Hate that film. Then we got House. And then House 2, the second story. And then another freaking, once again from Uwe Ball, House of the Dead, which is sucks because that's wrong. That sounded wrong. Which sucks because I grew up playing the games. I love the House of the Dead games. My brother, he likes this film. Why? So, but freaking Uwe Ball. Man. But yeah, I grew up playing the House of the Dead games. I love them. Not the remake. Probably the only thing I got out of that film was the song, you know. I am bringing for the vendor to the House of the Dead. Probably the only thing I got out of that was that. But anyway, next, you have The House of the Devil. And then another favorite horror remake of mine, which this one is more underrated, House of Wax. Then another remake I like, from the same production of Dark Castle, House on Haunted Hill. I enjoy this remake as well. Then we got The Host, The First Hostile. Don't have the sequel because ruins the ending of this. Then Howl, and which that ends on that shelf. Now moving on down to the next one. To another franchise, The Howling, with Richard Joe Dante, which I think it's okay though, but to me it's not. This is one of the best werewolf films ever made. To me, my all-time favorite is Dog Soldiers, but I like American Werewolf in London. I like Bad Moon. To me, it's still alright though. But there's the suits, the practical stuff I like. But yeah. But it's not one of my favorites though, the werewolves. But then you got the sequel, Halloween 2, then Halloween 3, 4, double feature has 5 and 6. The 7th one is the worst one of the franchise, Reborn. So that's the worst of the franchise. Then going on to Humanoids of the Deep, Hypothermia, getting into the first I Know What You Did Last Summer, the sequel. Then moving on with Insidious 1, 2, which I don't have the other sequels, just the 2 ones. And then we move on to another one of my favorite John Carpenter films, In the Mouth of Madness. Great movie. I reviewed that last year for Halloween month. Even got the poster. Love In the Mouth of Madness. And the original, I Spit on Your Grave. Then we got the miniseries of Stephen King's It. And then the 2017 one, which I'm not a fan of, sadly. Well, not sadly, but I'm saying sorry, I'm not a fan of it. Much better to me. To me. People love Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise. To me, I don't think. To me, he's just trying way too hard to be fair, to be scary. To me, the one that scared me as a kid was Tim Curry. To me, he scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, seeing Halloween performing with his sharp teeth. You know. To me, Bill Skarsgård is just trying way too hard to be scary. And especially because It Chapter 2 was... It Chapter 2... Hold on a second. I was saying that It Chapter 2 was worse. Then we got It Follows. Then we got Jack Frost, the Killer Snowman one. And this one, which I really do enjoy. I love this film. The remake from last year was very shitty. Jacob's Ladder. Tim Robbins, great in this movie. Excellent in this film. Great movie as well. So, why make a movie of that? I have no idea. It turned out to be very shitty as well. But I love Jacob's Ladder. Then we move on to the classic franchise of Jaws. This is the digitally remastered one. But I have sometimes I have the collector's, the 30th anniversary edition of the Jaws. Then we got the solid sequel, Jaws 2, Jaws 3, which is Guilty Pleasure, and then of course the very shitty one of all of them, Jaws the Revenge. Then we move on to next, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Killosaurus. And Kingdom of the Spiders. King Cobra. Then another one from another. Knock Knock. This sucks because, you know, I'm a big fan of Keanu Reeves, but the film just sucks. First from director Eli Roth. Then we have Komodo. Next is Krampus, the first Lake Placid film. Don't have the other ones because I don't bother why this film did not need to be a franchise anyway. Just stick with the first one. Then you have the original Last House on the Left. Then the 2009 remake, which I prefer over the original. Then we have The Lazarus Effect. Then The Legend of Boggy Creek. Then move on to the next one franchise. Leprechaun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which I don't have the last one though. I'm gonna get that sometime later, not anytime soon, but 5. Then moving on to another highly underrated creature feature film, which I also love to death as well. So of Leviathan, great one. Love Leviathan. Then of Lights Out. The Lost Boys. The third one, where I skipped the second film because the second film was crappy, but this one I thought was better. The Thirst. Lost Boys, The Thirst. Then of Mammoth. And Maneater. The Mangler, which no one from Toby Hooper, starring Robert Englund, from Stephen King as well. I really enjoy The Mangler. Then we got the First Maniac Cop, the sequel, and then the third one. And this one, disappointing because I'm a fan of this character. This very crappy, disappointing movie. Released from Sci-Fi. Man-Thing. Disappointing. Beyond disappointing. And now, still got a long ways to go still. Still got 2 more shells for this one to go. 2 more to go. Next we have is Man's Best Friend. Another favorite Stephen King of mine, which, well, he says, "Oh, with the trailer, I'm scared the hell out of you." Which, absurdly, he's not fond of his own film either, sadly. Which, I'm sorry to Stephen King, I highly disagree. I grew up loving this film, rented it a bunch of times on VHS from Blockbuster. I love Maximum Overdrive. Love this film. I enjoy Emilio Estevez. The rock and music soundtrack by AC/DC. I mean, I don't know why he disowns his own film. I don't know why. But I love Maximum Overdrive. Then we got The Meg. The Messengers. And then the sequel. Hey, years before, it stars... Where is it? Stars Norman Reedus, long before he played Daryl from The Walking Dead. In case anyone cares, who's a fan of him. Yeah, years before, yeah, The Messengers 2. Then next of Miner's Massacre. Then Stephen King's The Mist. Then of The Mothman Prophecies. Then of Mosquito. Starring Gunnar Hansen in this film. Rest in peace. Then move on to another good slasher film, the original of My Bloody Valentine. Then you have My Soul to Take, not that good. Near Dark. Another one starring the late Max von Sydow, rest in peace. We have Stephen King's Needful Things with Ed Harris. But yeah, once again, rest in peace, Max von Sydow. Then we got The Nest. And then the whole complete collection of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. All the way up to New Nightmares, including with a bonus one for the encyclopedia. So the whole complete box set right here. And like I said before, this is more about Freddy than Jason. So Freddy versus Jason. This is, like I said, this is more about Freddy, this movie. Then we get one of the worst remakes, the 2010 remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. And then we got the Ultimate Nightmare documentary, Never Sleep Again, The Elm Street Legacy. Then we got next Night of the Creeps, Night of the Lepus, and like I said before, the one I come to respect, the original Night of the Living Dead. Then we got Night of the Wild, and then The Nun from the next one, the Conjuring universe. And then another good one of unknown origin. Then next of the original The Omen, number 2. Which I don't have number 3, which I'll have to get to though, but then number 4. And then the 2006 remake. Then you got Orca, Orphan, and then Overlord, and then P2. Then we got The Pack. Then we get to the Paranormal franchise. Paranormal Activity, I'm saying. The first one. Number 2. Number 3. 4. You can technically say the 5th one, the marked ones. But I don't have the last one, the Ghost Dimension. And then another classic Wes Craven one, The People Under the Stairs. Next of the original, Pet Sematary. Then the remake. Not that good. Not good, I'm saying not good at all. Then we got Phantoms. Then the Phantom of the Opera version starring Robert Englund. Then we got the original Piranha with Joe Dante. And then I got the 2010 remake, Piranha. And then the sequel, which came out in 2012, Piranha Double D. You know, it's supposed to be 3 Double D. Get it? And now finally get into the last shelf now. Planet of the Sharks. The first Poltergeist. Then the triple 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, Primeval. John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. The original Prom Night. Along with the very shitty remake of from 2008, Prom Night. Next, Prophecy. Then the original Psycho. The big collect special edition. Then, where I review this, the copy and paste, you could say, of a remake of Psycho. Then you got this triple feature. You got Psycho 2, 3, and 4. Then you got Pulse. Then you got the first Pumpkinhead, directed by Stan Winston, which is cool. Stan Winston did the effects of countless, like Jurassic Park, and among many others, which is cool. He directed this film, Pumpkinhead. Then you got the Purge trilogy, which not just that trilogy because there is the first Purge, but I have the first three. I don't have the last one yet. As of right now, either the first Purge, and the second film, and the third film, which I'll get the fourth one, which is the first Purge, which I do know that they're gonna make a fifth one. I'm like, how? How are you planning on doing a fifth Purge film? Because you already explained the prequel to the first Purge. And the last one, election year, that ended the Purge. So how you gonna do another one? Whatever. But moving on, next of The Pyramid. Another underrated creature feature film, Q the Winged Serpent. Directed by the late director Larry Cohen. Quarantine. The first one. A Quiet Place, which now they do replace it before they changed the release date, which is supposed to come out next week, but no, because due to the freaking coronavirus, which I think is stupid. I was looking forward to seeing the sequel. Me and my brother were. Stupid, But the first one. Then you got Razorback, the killer pig, or boar, you say. And then you got another horror film I liked last year, Ready or Not. Then you got, if you count as a horror film, Red State, freaking Kevin Smith. No. Then you got another good one with Lou Diamond Phillips, which was made for television though, but I enjoyed it. Red Water. So also starring Coolio as well. Then another all-time favorite creature feature film for me, like with Deep Rising. Love this film. The Relic. Another great creature feature film. Then you got The Return of the Living Dead 1. Then you got Part 2. Then you got the other one. I think this is like the fourth one, I think. Necropolis. And then you got the next one, Rave to the Grave. Then it had another remake I like, The Ring. And you get, to me, like the best killer crocodile film to me. Like Alligator's the best of Alligator, then you got this one for the best crocodile, Rogue. Next, Sand Sharks. Then moving on to the franchise, the Saw franchise, which I like the first one. It was a directorial debut for director James Wong. I think I Saw 2, which I think I could tolerate, and after which the sequel, the rest of them afterwards. Like Saw 3, Saw 4. Then Saw 5, 6, then 7, then came out, then another recent one, Jigsaw. Then I'm curious to check out the next one, with Chris Rock. Then you got Scarecrow Slayer. This one I'll have to give a review sometime, which another horror film I liked. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Then you got the first Scream film. Now we're in the home stretch here now. Now the home stretch. This is the last here. This is the last of this entire shelf right here. Whew. So now we got the Scream 2, and Scream 3, and then Scream 4. Then you got another one from Wes Craven, The Serpent of the Rainbow, Servants of Twilight. And then a very creepy one, Session 9. And you got Shockma. And you got, well, I don't have the first one or the third one, but I just got this a cheap one. But Shark Attack 2. And this one, well, let me put this first away first. You'd probably say this one is like more like a mystery thriller. But I always put this in the horror section because to me it had that horror vibe to it. Especially back in the 40s. But I thought it would be in the horror section. Just how the way each film looked. But the complete Sherlock Holmes collection. The one starring Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. Me and my dad love watching these films all the time. We still do. If he says, "Hey, let's watch one of the Sherlock Holmes films," I will say yes in a heartbeat. Because as for me and as for my dad, as we say, to me the best Holmes and Watson there is. Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes, and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. To me, they're the best Holmes and Watson to us, to me and my dad. And that's about it. That's it for this whole section right here. So, and the rest is continuing over there now. So, but that's gonna do it for this one, for part 2. This is gonna take a lot longer than I thought it would be. So I can't do all this overnight. So they're gonna do the parts sometime later. So it's gonna take a long time. So that's it for part 2. Hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for part 3. Later.